Hi, I'm CJ Fairfield, Senior Associate Editor with CRN.com. I'm here with Marc Menzies and Seth Kilander, two MSPs in the space, and we're here to talk about AI. So, to both of you, what challenges are customers focusing on in adopting AI for their business?
So some of the challenges that the customers have are the same challenges that we have in security in general. They're around data classification, permissions, the things that have plagued us for many years that we've gotten involved in a consultative way. We're starting to see that these are actually larger issues in implementation. If you can put in a prompt to Copilot and see what the CEO is making, that's a big problem. Very powerful tool, but we need to make sure it's playing right.
What about you, Seth?
So security and privacy, as Mark said, but Julia Diane said something really important earlier. It's not just even a product right now, it's a process. So you basically have to go back in and you're not just selling something, you have to retrain workforces to truly understand and be able to work with it. And it's a big deal. It's a really big deal because you can't just throw someone under the bus in a sense, but it's not the same as say picking up a word processor or even a spreadsheet. There are so many different layers to this beyond the understanding of what we deal with on the security and compliance and the privacy and whatnot. It's gonna be a big change in the workforce and how they have to come to the table.
So how are you guys implementing AI into your own businesses?
So for us, and I was gonna say, a lot of times we like to eat our own dog food. And so having these best practices internally and then proceduralizing them and then using those procedures that we create internally then to extend out to our customers is paramount, especially when you're adopting a new technology. So that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We have a couple of our clients that have Copilot, for example, and we advise them to use it in a very limited fashion. It's extremely fenced in until we really understand what data it's aggregating, what it's doing, and how powerful it is. So until everything is what we or the client would consider to be perfect or as close to perfect as it can be, we're really fencing everything in. Only I think 3 of our employees have Copilot licenses right now, just because I know that if something leaked by accident or there was some sort of misclassification of data, that I could trust them to report it to me and then not use that information in a way that doesn't support the goals of our organization.
Yeah, we're a very similar boat. We've branched out to as many of the different vendors as we can. Only if they really have a system like Copilot, ChatGPT, they have like the business grade where we can tie in to the LLM, but none of our actual information is being shared back out to the larger model. So as long as that's guaranteed and we kind of play within our own GPTs and whatnot, we feel pretty secure about it. Copilot has some unique layers that we have opened up for some clients, but we try to work with them very closely to make sure that they understand what they're working with. And very similar, only a few people. So we don't have the whole team inside of every different vendor. We have a couple people in one vendor, a couple people in a different vendor, a couple people across multiple so they can test it. But we are trying to keep it as separated and siloed as we can, especially with the clients.
So when it comes to AI, what are some of the more exciting use cases you're seeing around it?
I had a presentation I did a few weeks ago, and I misunderstood the assignment a bit. I thought it was a half an hour workshop. It ended up being a 2-hour workshop. So I was able to take some of the information from the slide deck I had already used and was like, please expand further upon it. It's industry best practices, data classification. Actually, that's ironically what the talk was on. And I was able to, instead of panicking and freaking out a week before giving a workshop, I was able to calm down and say, look, I just need more content. I already have the basis of what I want. I know what I'm talking about. I just need more of it, and then I need some more bullet points and things like that that are intelligible. And so within a few hours, I had literally 4x the amount of content, images, things that I needed. And I was able to, it just calmed me down. I was able to perform and just move on. And it was a blip on the radar versus it would have been, a disaster otherwise.
I'd say it's not the most exciting to talk about, but one of the fastest areas of growth that you mentioned is data management. Classifications are huge, especially with Mark and I both work with different layers of compliance for clients. And to be able to start pulling that in and actively manage and process and automate is huge. Some of the other areas that are kind of exciting though, we've had some very unique requests where we're able to start leveraging some of the new, the vendors have some new options such as being able to go online, search securely, I was running a search for someone not too long ago. I bet it would take my team 20 to 30 hours, and 2 or 3 hours in, we had information from all over the world. The model and the engine was already putting in links and photos and everything into spreadsheets for us, and it would take my team, I mean, at least a week to put together and then hand it over to the client to be able to finish. And we actually were showing them what we were doing. We were able to sit down with them and teach them how to take it to the next level. And the excitement on that was huge. Now, there are so many different applications, but we're also talking about the MSP space, some of the smaller businesses that we work with, and how are they going to move forward. There are some very exciting things out there for AI, but also what is the reality today for the regular business, smaller business, and how can we really apply it? Some of the more exciting things, I think, come from that.
So my question for you guys is, what can AI vendors be doing to better support your businesses?
Transparency. We want to understand. We get that the vendors don't even know what's the caged animal is doing half the time. It's a black box essentially for them too. But we want as much transparency as possible. We would like to see some sort of standard around, data transparency that all AI vendors can kind of follow. But that's probably many years out. But what I really want to see is just what you're doing with our data, where it's going to end up, where it's being stored, processed, and transmitted, and and some sort of easy way to see like, who has access to what. Like, does Bob have access to our financials? And I know it sounds silly, but being able to do that is something that we shouldn't have to think of that prompt. It should be something that maybe is in an executive report to us or something like that. Those are the kinds of things that will be very helpful to us in making sure that our clients and us ourselves are using these tools responsibly.
I completely agree with everything you said. The other part of that is AI has kind of been thrown into just everyone in the sense of like this big box of all these things you can do. What are the simple things? Where are the basic walkthroughs? Where are the real discussions of like, this is where we can start? They exist, but they're not necessarily just standard because people are looking at the big items, but there are so many pieces of the pie to get to that big launch or whatever else. So a lot of companies are really holding back. Like, we have no idea what we're looking at. This is a giant whale, and no one's really come to the plate yet to say, look, we may be 2-3 years from your company able to get there, but why don't we start here and do these little things? And again, some of it may exist, but it's not really out front. It's not out there like YouTube videos and everything else from the actual vendors, the things that are going on. So that's probably where I'd start.
Well, Marc, Seth, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I'm CJ with CRN. For more coverage, check out AI in Action Digital Newsroom.